decoding sounds, syllables, and words. So, decoding is the process of listening to words. So, that means that you think about them and then you turning those words into mental images. So, basically, it is about how it moves from the raw material that reaches the listener's ear to the process that an expert listener employs in order to make sense of it. So, into the coding process, there are so many things that are involved in, and one of the most important things about the decoding operation is matching. Matching is making a connection between closure of acoustic cues and the listening knowledge of units of the language being heard. For example, phonemes, syllables, and grammatically words and patterns. So, the main idea of this video is to see how that matching operation takes place and how that matching process is in relation to units of various size, beginning with phonemes and moving on the syllables and words. Processing phonemes. So, people usually have problems in recognizing separate sounds because of the phoneme variation. So, what listeners do to have an idea of how phoneme variation works and how to separate sounds is relate that information to vocabulary that they have learned and things that are part of their environment, and also they use their ability to take chunks of the language to implement that for master this ability of processing the phonemes in a whole word. So what we must do as a teachers is to provide some tools to our students that can help them into the ear training, because ear training is also a very important part into the recognition of the phonemes. So what we can do is exercise like discriminations of sounds, exercise of repetition words that sound very similar, and separate words. The book is also giving us some exercise that we can use with our students into the class to help them to master this ability. One of them is contrast response. That is about, it says, put up your left hand when you hear the sound represented by P, and your right hand when you hear the sound represented by B. This is one of the exercises. The others are matching exercise, contrast, dictation, transcription, and unknown word repetition. We also have a spelling exploration, that is another alternative that we can use into our class. This exercise should aim to create awareness of the underlying spelling system and not to teach individual word forms. In this area, we can find a different exercise that can help us and help our students to identify phonemes and identify sound spelling relationship. Here we have some examples of the activities that are proposed in this area. We have transcription of unknown words, and it says, write down the words you hear. Each word will be said twice. Teacher dictates infrequent words. And with a spelling exploration, we finished the processing phonemes stage. Processing syllables. As we have seen, the syllable is a more consistent unit than a phoneme. Into the syllables, we can find a stress and rhythm, but as you know, these things can change depending on the language. So, as we shall see, single stressed syllables provide cause to the identifier of longer words, cause to the function of words. Into the syllables, we need to consider these two facts. The first one is the structure of the syllable, basically the number of consonants that the language permits within a syllable. And in the second one, we have the frequency of weak syllables, like those in English containing schwa. So, this is very important because this is the guide for the teacher to help the students to advance in this topic, because every student has a different process to get this information. So the teacher needs to establish a time to syllable level processing. So what we can do in here is simple transcription exercise. It can be used over a period of time in order to ensure that the L2 listener can produce the more complex syllables accurately. And in here, the book provides some examples of activities that you can do. For example, syllable recognition, matching exercise, consonant clusters, and graded syllables. To finish this part, the teacher can also design exercises which make learners aware of connection between weak syllables and function words to help them to move forward to the another step in the listening as a skill. So now, last but not least, we have processing words. Into the processing words, we can find that most of the listeners have problems in decoding words, and part of this problem could be caused because they have lack of vocabulary or they don't understand what they have heard, so it makes it difficult for them to decode the message, understand the meaning of the words. So another strategy that we can use with our students for make word vendors is to identify prefixes and suffixes. So in here we have some examples of activities that we can do into the lexical segmentation. So we have a standard segmentation practice. Teacher plays a sentence exercise from a piece of a natural speech. Learners transcribe the words they understand. Teachers replay. Learners add more words to their transcriptions. And learners compare answers. Teacher replays and repeat with several sentences. Ideal also for self-study. And we also have gap filling, awareness raising, ear training, and segmentation of strings. With prefixes and suffixes, we can do a lot of activities. Some of them are affixes poetry, suffix awareness, code affixes, affix segmentation, suffixes, and word class. Suffixes and word segmentation is about listen and write down these words, guess their meanings, then write a sentence containing them, and the teacher dictates unknown words which contain known words as their stems. So basically, by using the activities as prefixes and suffixes activities and lexical segmentation exercise, we will help our students to move forward into the process of decoding words.